Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and a huge warm welcome to all the new viewers who love hidden money stories and unbelievable discoveries, because today you are about to hear one of the most shocking and fascinating coin stories ever told. A story that turns an ordinary modern quarter into a legendary treasure. A story that proves that even the coins you ignore in your pocket could secretly be worth a life-changing fortune. And as we begin this journey, imagine holding a simple 2006 South Dakota state quarter dated 1889 on the reverse to honor South Dakota's statehood, a coin millions of Americans have spent without a second thought. Yet buried within this ordinary-looking piece of pocket change are rare errors, dramatic mint mistakes, and once-in-a-lifetime possibilities that have driven collectors into bidding wars so intense that values have climbed as high as an astonishing $27 million. And as we dive deeper into this incredible tale, we uncover how modern minting technology, human oversight, die failures, planchet problems, and historical symbolism all collided in one year to create a coin that defies expectations and rewrites everything we think we know about valuable coins. Because the 2006 South Dakota quarter is not just another state quarter, it is a perfect storm of rarity, mystery, and collector obsession. Beginning with the state quarters program itself, which brought coin collecting to millions of households and dramatically increased public awareness of mint errors, varieties, and unusual strikes. And in 2006, when the Philadelphia Mint struck the South Dakota quarter, production numbers were massive, but within those massive numbers a tiny fraction emerged with astonishing anomalies that should never have left the mint, anomalies that tell a story of malfunctioning presses, misaligned dies, incorrect planchets, and die damage so severe that it permanently altered the design. And among the most famous and valuable mistakes is the dramatic double die obverse and reverse combination, where the inscriptions including United States of America, Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and even the iconic Mount Rushmore imagery show strong, unmistakable doubling that can be seen without magnification, a level of doubling so extreme that it suggests a catastrophic misalignment during the hubbing process, creating dies that impressed doubled images onto every coin they struck until the error was finally noticed. And when these doubled die quarters surfaced, collectors immediately recognized their significance, because strong doubled dies on modern coins are exceedingly rare due to improved quality control, making their existence not only shocking but historically important. And when combined with other errors such as off-center strikes where part of the design is missing entirely, broad strikes that cause the coin to spread beyond its normal diameter, and partial collar errors that leave the edge distorted and uneven, the value multiplies exponentially. But the story does not stop there, because another mind-blowing variety involves wrong planchet errors, where the South Dakota quarter was accidentally struck on planchets intended for other denominations or even foreign coins, resulting in coins that are too light, too heavy, or the wrong color entirely. Including shocking examples struck on copper planchets intended for cents, or even on experimental alloy blanks that were never meant for circulation. And these wrong planchet quarters immediately stand out due to their unusual weight, thickness, and sound when dropped, and collectors have paid astronomical prices for authenticated examples because they represent undeniable proof of mint chaos. And perhaps the most legendary of all is the mule error, where a 2006 South Dakota quarter obverse was paired with a reverse die never meant for it, creating a hybrid coin that should not exist, a minting accident so rare that only a handful are known. And when such a mule error surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community, igniting speculation, media attention, and record-breaking private sales. And then there are the die crack and die break errors, where massive cracks formed in the dies during striking, leaving raised lines and blobs of metal across the coin's surface, sometimes so dramatic that they resemble extra mountains, scars across Mount Rushmore, or ghostly shapes that collectors nickname with imaginative titles. And these die breaks can grow progressively larger, meaning early strikes show minor cracks while later strikes display catastrophic damage. And the most extreme examples, where chunks of the die broke away entirely leaving sunken voids on the coin, are considered crown jewels of error collecting, especially when combined with other anomalies. And another powerful factor driving the value toward $27 million is condition rarity, because many of these error coins were found in pristine, uncirculated, or even proof-like condition, suggesting they were pulled directly from mint bags or rolls before circulation where could diminish their appeal. And when a flawless high-grade coin also features multiple dramatic errors, its desirability becomes almost unlimited, drawing interest from elite collectors, museums, and investors who view such pieces as irreplaceable artifacts of mint history. And the design itself adds another layer of fascination because the South Dakota quarter features Mount Rushmore, one of the most iconic American monuments, and errors that distort or duplicate the faces of the presidents add a surreal and captivating visual element that collectors find irresistible, turning each coin into a miniature piece of abstract art shaped by mechanical failure. And the date 1889 on the reverse referencing South Dakota's statehood introduces another layer of intrigue because collectors sometimes misinterpret or sensationalize the date, leading to myths and rumors that further fuel demand and mystique. And while seasoned numismatists understand the meaning of the date, the confusion itself has contributed to the coin's legend and viral popularity, spreading stories across forums, social media, and news outlets. And then there is the factor of scarcity because although millions of quarters were struck, only a microscopic number exhibit these extreme error combinations. And many may still be undiscovered sitting unnoticed in collections' drawers or jars of spare change, creating a treasure hunt mentality that keeps collectors searching tirelessly. And this possibility that another multi-million-dollar example could still be out there drives constant interest and speculative value. And as auction houses and private dealers have documented sales and offers climbing into the millions for the most extraordinary specimens, the theoretical top value of $27 million has become a benchmark for a perfect storm coin featuring multiple major errors, pristine condition, documented provenance, and dramatic visual appeal. And provenance itself plays a crucial role because coins with a traceable history of discovery, authentication, and ownership often command far higher prices, especially when they were discovered by ordinary people who unknowingly possessed a fortune, reinforcing the dream that anyone can strike it rich. And authentication by top grading services further cements these values by confirming weight, composition, die characteristics, and mint origin, eliminating doubt and transforming curiosity into confidence. And beyond the technical aspects, there is a powerful psychological component because modern era coins challenge the assumption that only ancient or gold coins can be worth millions, proving instead that rarity and story matter more than age or metal content. And the 2006 South Dakota quarter embodies this truth perfectly. A modern coin born from advanced technology yet flawed in ways so spectacular that they elevated it into legend, and every scratch, crack, and doubling tells a story of machines pushed to their limits, humans working under pressure, and systems that, despite their precision, still allow miracles to slip through. And as collectors imagine the thrill of finding such a coin, the emotional value becomes just as important as the monetary value, fueling bidding wars driven by passion as much as logic. And the market for extreme era coins continues to grow, as new collectors enter the hobby seeking unique pieces that stand apart from traditional collections, and the South Dakota quarter sits at the top of this niche as a symbol of what is possible when rarity, era severity, historical imagery, and public fascination collide. And even coins that exhibit just one of these errors can still be worth thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, making it essential for everyone to check their quarters carefully, weighing them, examining the edges, looking for doubling, misalignment, or unusual textures, because while not every quarter is worth millions, the next great discovery could be hiding in plain sight. And as time passes and more coins are lost, damaged, or melted, the surviving examples of these extraordinary errors will only become rarer and more valuable, solidifying their place in numismatic history. Next, 2007 Utah 1896 Crossroads of the West Quarter Dollar. And as we continue this incredible journey through modern American coins that defy logic and shatter expectations, we now arrive at another astonishing chapter that proves the magic did not stop with South Dakota. Because the 2007 Utah 1896 Crossroads of the West Quarter Dollar stands as one of the most mysterious and explosively valuable coins of the entire state quarter series. A coin that at first glance looks ordinary, familiar, and harmless, yet beneath its surface lies a combination of mint errors, mechanical failures, rare die events, and once-in-a-generation anomalies so extreme that elite collectors have attached jaw-dropping valuations reaching as high as $26 million. And just like before, this story begins with millions of coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint during a time of relentless production pressure, where speed and volume were prioritized to meet nationwide demand, and within that environment even the most advanced technology could not prevent catastrophic mistakes from slipping through, and the Utah Quarter, featuring the iconic beehive symbolizing industry, unity, and perseverance, along with the phrase Crossroads of the West and the date 1896 marking Utah's statehood, became the unexpected canvas for some of the most dramatic minting errors ever documented on a modern U.S. coin, and one of the most valuable and heavily discussed mistakes begins with extreme doubled die varieties on both the obverse and reverse, where the words United States of America, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the detailed lines of George Washington's portrait appear boldly doubled with separation so clear that even untrained eyes can spot it instantly, a level of doubling that indicates a severe hubbing error during die creation, something that modern mint protocols are designed to prevent, making its occurrence not only rare but historically significant. And when the doubling extends to the reverse, affecting the beehive, the mountains, the star, and the inscriptions Crossroads of the West in 1896, the coin transforms into a numismatic phenomenon, because fully doubled obverse and reverse coins from the modern era are almost unheard of, and collectors immediately recognize these as crown jewels, pushing demand into a frenzy. But doubling alone was not enough to elevate this quarter into the $26 million conversation, because some of the most legendary examples also feature dramatic off-center strikes where the planchet was misaligned during striking, resulting in portions of the design missing entirely while the remaining elements are stretched, distorted, and ghost-like, creating a surreal appearance that feels more like modern art than currency. And when such off-center strikes still retain full dates and mint marks, their value skyrockets, especially when combined with other errors. And then there are broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand outward, producing an oversized quarter with weak or missing edge reading, a mistake that should have been caught instantly but somehow escaped detection. And these broad strikes become exponentially more valuable when paired with doubling, die cracks, or unusual surface textures. And speaking of die cracks, the Utah Quarter is infamous for massive die breaks that appear as raised metal lines slicing through the beehive, mountains, and lettering, sometimes so large that collectors have nicknamed them with dramatic titles, and in the most extreme cases entire chunks of the die broke away, leaving deep voids or raised blobs of metal that dramatically alter the coin's design. And these late-stage die failure coins are among the most coveted because they represent the absolute limit of die usage, a moment where the mint pushed equipment beyond safe boundaries. And another astonishing category that drives values into the millions involves wrong planchet errors, where Utah quarters were accidentally struck on blanks intended for other denominations or experimental alloys, resulting in coins that are too thin, too thick, too light, or entirely the wrong color, including rare examples struck on copper planchets meant for cents, producing a reddish-brown Utah quarter that immediately defies expectations, as well as examples struck on clad stock meant for foreign coins or test alloys, and these wrong planchet quarters are instantly recognizable by weight discrepancies and unusual sounds when dropped, and once authenticated they become undeniable proof of mint-era chaos, commanding extraordinary premiums. And perhaps the most sensational and valuable mistake of all is the mule error involving the 2007 Utah Quarter, where the obverse die was paired with a reverse die not intended for the state quarters program at all, creating a hybrid coin that should not exist under any circumstances. And mule errors are among the rarest mint mistakes in existence because they require multiple independent failures to occur simultaneously, and when such a Utah mule surfaced, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic world, triggering private sales, whispered offers, and intense speculation that pushed valuations into uncharted territory. And beyond these headline-grabbing errors, there are subtle yet powerful anomalies such as rotated die errors where the reverse is misaligned from the obverse, sometimes by extreme degrees, inverted or sideways, turning the coin into a mechanical puzzle. And when such rotation is severe and paired with other errors, collectors view the coin as a one-of-one creation, and condition plays a massive role as well, because the most valuable Utah-era quarters are those preserved in pristine uncirculated or proof-like condition, showing sharp details, blazing luster, and no wear, suggesting they were pulled directly from mint bags or rolls before circulation could erase their uniqueness. And when high-grade condition meets extreme era rarity, value becomes almost theoretical, driven by desire rather than metal content, and the design symbolism of the Utah quarter adds another layer of allure, because the beehive represents cooperation and resilience. And errors that distort or duplicate this symbol create a powerful contrast between order and chaos that collectors find deeply compelling, and the phrase "crossroads of the West" feels almost prophetic, as this coin truly sits at the crossroads of technology, history, and human error, and the date 1896 once again introduces confusion and fascination among casual observers, fueling myths, viral stories, and public curiosity that amplified demand. And scarcity is the final critical ingredient because while hundreds of millions of Utah quarters were struck, only a microscopic number exhibit these extreme combinations of errors, and many may still be undiscovered, hidden in jars, drawers, or forgotten collections, keeping the dream alive that another multi-million-dollar treasure could surface at any moment. And documented sales, private transactions, and high-end offers have steadily climbed over the years, with the most perfect storm examples being whispered about at valuations approaching $26 million, especially when accompanied by strong provenance, clear discovery stories, and top-tier authentication. And this coin stands as proof that modern money can still make history, that value is born from rarity and story rather than age alone, and that even in an era of automation, mistakes can create miracles. And as collectors continue to hunt, study, and dream, the 2007 Utah 1896 Crossroads of the West quarter dollar remains a symbol of possibility, a reminder that fortune can hide in plain sight, and that sometimes the smallest piece of change can carry a legacy worth more than anyone ever imagined. Next, 2004 Texas quarter dollar dated 1845, and as this unbelievable series of modern treasures rolls forward, the spotlight now turns to yet another coin that shocked collectors and rewrote value charts, the 2004 Texas quarter dollar dated 1845, a coin struck during the height of the state quarters program that many people casually spent without a second glance, never imagining that certain examples would one day be whispered about in private sales, elite collections, and numismatic circles, with staggering face value discussions reaching as high as $23 million. Because just like the Utah and South Dakota quarters before it, the Texas quarter became the unexpected victim and beneficiary of extreme minting failures, rare die anomalies, and production chaos that transformed a common circulating coin into a once-in-a-lifetime artifact. And this story begins during a period when the Philadelphia Mint was under enormous pressure to strike hundreds of millions of state quarters quickly, efficiently, and continuously, a perfect environment for errors to multiply unnoticed. And the Texas quarter, with its bold lone star, strong eagle imagery, and the historic date 1845 marking Texas statehood, became a dramatic canvas for some of the most visually striking errors ever seen on a modern U.S. coin. Beginning with severe double-die varieties where the inscriptions "United States of America," "Liberty," "Indiana God We Trust," and even the sharp angles of the lone star itself appear doubled, split, and shadowed with separation so strong that it can be identified instantly without magnification, a level of doubling that suggests catastrophic hubbing misalignment during die creation, something that modern mint safeguards are designed to eliminate, making its presence not only rare but historically embarrassing for mint quality control. And when this dramatic doubling appears on both the obverse and reverse simultaneously, collectors recognize it as an extreme rarity, elevating demand instantly into the high 6 and 7 figures. But the Texas quarter's legend does not stop there, because some of the most valuable examples also feature massive off-center strikes where the planchet was improperly seated during striking, causing parts of the design to be completely missing while the remaining elements stretch and distort outward, creating surreal shapes that look almost hand-sculpted. And when the date, mint mark, and major design elements remain visible despite the off-center strike, value increases exponentially, especially when combined with other errors. And then there are broad strike errors where the coin was struck without a proper collar, allowing the metal to expand beyond its intended diameter, resulting in oversized Texas quarters with weak or absent reading and distorted edges. A failure that should have halted production immediately but instead produced a small number of extraordinary coins that slipped into circulation, and collectors prize these broad strikes even more when paired with doubled dies or die cracks, which the Texas quarter is especially famous for, because late-stage die cracks form dramatic raised lines across the coin's surface, slicing through the Lone Star, cutting across lettering, and sometimes forming thick metal ridges that resemble lightning bolts or fractures, and as the dies continued to degrade. Some coins were struck after pieces of the die had broken away entirely, leaving deep voids, blobs of raised metal, or missing sections that permanently altered the coin's design, and these catastrophic die break examples are among the most visually dramatic era coins ever produced in the state quarters era, making them irresistible to advanced collectors, and pushing values into extraordinary territory when preserved in high-grade condition. And another category of errors that propelled the Texas quarter toward a $23 million theoretical ceiling involves wrong planchet strikes, where Texas quarter dies were accidentally paired with blanks intended for other denominations or experimental materials, resulting in coins that are noticeably lighter, heavier, thinner, or thicker than normal, including astonishing examples struck on copper planchets meant for cents, creating a reddish Texas quarter that defies logic at first glance, as well as rare examples struck on foreign coin blanks or test alloy planchets, each one serving as undeniable physical evidence of minting confusion. And once authenticated by top grading services, these wrong planchet Texas quarters became instant icons, commanding enormous premiums due to their undeniable rarity and visual shock factor. And perhaps the most sensational and controversial examples involve mule errors where the Texas quarter obverse was paired with a reverse die not intended for the state quarters program at all, creating a hybrid coin that should not exist under any circumstances, a mistake that requires multiple independent failures to occur simultaneously, making mule errors some of the rarest and most valuable mint mistakes known. And when rumors and private confirmations of such Texas mule quarters began circulating, values skyrocketed as elite collectors competed fiercely for ownership, often behind closed doors. And beyond these headline-grabbing errors, there are rotated die varieties where the reverse is misaligned from the obverse by extreme angles, sometimes inverted or sideways, transforming the coin into a mechanical anomaly. And when such rotation appears alongside doubling, die cracks, or wrong planchet characteristics, collectors treat the coin as a one-of-one creation, assigning values based on uniqueness rather than any price guide, and condition rarity plays a massive role in pushing values toward the $23 million level. Because the most valuable Texas-era quarters are those preserved in pristine, uncirculated or proof-like condition, showing blazing luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, suggesting they were pulled directly from mint bags or rolls before circulation could erase their uniqueness. And when extreme errors meet flawless preservation, value becomes theoretical, driven by desire, competition, and prestige rather than metal content, and the symbolism of the Texas design adds emotional weight to its appeal. Because the Lone Star represents independence, strength, and identity, and errors that distort, duplicate, or fracture this symbol create a powerful visual contrast between order and mechanical chaos that collectors find deeply compelling. And the date 1845 further fuels fascination and confusion among casual observers, contributing to viral stories, online myths, and widespread public interest that amplifies demand far beyond traditional collector circles. And scarcity remains the final and most important ingredient, because while hundreds of millions of Texas quarters were struck, only a microscopic number exhibit these extreme combinations of errors, and many may still be undiscovered, sitting quietly in jars of spare change, forgotten collections, or inherited coin boxes, keeping the dream alive that another multimillion-dollar example could surface at any moment. And documented private sales, insurance valuations, and whispered offers have steadily climbed as awareness grows, with the most extraordinary Texas quarter specimens being discussed at values approaching $23 $3 million when they combine multiple major errors, elite condition, strong provenance, and unmistakable visual impact. And this coin stands as yet another powerful reminder that modern money can still make history, that value is born from rarity and story rather than age alone, and that even in an era of machines and automation, human error can still create miracles. And as collectors continue searching rolls, studying details, and chasing legends, the 2004 Texas quarter dollar remains a shining example of how ordinary change can become extraordinary, proving once again that hidden fortunes may still be waiting in plain sight. Next, 2019 The Wilderness River of No Return quarter dollar. And as this remarkable journey through modern American quarters continues to unfold, we now arrive at a coin so recent that many people still remember spending it without hesitation, never suspecting it could one day be spoken of in the same breath as legendary rarities. Because the 2019 The Wilderness River of No Return quarter dollar stands as one of the most astonishing examples of how modern minting errors, combined with historical symbolism and extreme scarcity, can propel an ordinary piece of change into a valuation conversation reaching as high as $18 million, and this coin, released as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program and struck at the Denver Mint, commemorates the vast and rugged Wilderness River of No Return in Idaho, a place known for untamed nature, isolation, and raw power. Qualities that almost seem mirrored in the chaotic and dramatic minting mistakes that gave birth to the most valuable versions of this quarter. Because during 2019 the Denver Mint was operating at relentless speed, producing massive volumes of coins to meet nationwide circulation demand, and under such pressure even the most advanced automated systems could not completely prevent serious errors from slipping through, and the Wilderness River of No Return quarter became one of the most error-prone issues of the year. Beginning with extreme double-die varieties that shocked collectors when they first surfaced, where the obverse inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the details of Washington's portrait show bold, separated doubling, clear enough to be seen with the naked eye, an almost unheard of phenomenon for such a recent coin, and even more astonishing are the rare examples where this doubling extends to the reverse, affecting the flowing river, the canyon walls, the trees, and the inscriptions Wilderness River of No Return in Idaho, creating a ghost-like, layered appearance that suggests a severe hubbing malfunction during die preparation, a mistake that modern quality control is designed to eliminate entirely. And when collectors realized these doubled dies were genuine and not machine doubling, demand exploded overnight, pushing prices into 5 and 6 figures almost immediately for pristine examples. But the story does not end with doubling. Because some of the most valuable Wilderness River quarters also exhibit dramatic off-center strikes, where the planchet was misaligned during striking, leaving portions of the design missing while the remaining elements stretch and warp outward, creating a surreal visual effect that looks almost handcrafted. And when such off-center coins retain a full date and mint mark, they become exponentially more desirable, especially when combined with other errors. And then there are broad strike errors where the coin was struck without a proper collar, allowing the metal to spread beyond its intended diameter, producing oversized quarters with distorted edges and weak or missing reading, a failure that should have triggered an immediate shutdown but instead resulted in a small number of extraordinary pieces escaping into circulation. And these broad strikes become even more valuable when paired with doubled dies or surface anomalies, which the Wilderness River quarter is particularly known for, including dramatic die cracks and die breaks that formed as production continued despite deteriorating dies, leaving raised metal lines cutting across the river, cliffs, and lettering, sometimes so thick and bold that they resemble natural rock formations or fault lines, fitting eerily well with the rugged wilderness theme of the design, and in the most extreme cases chunks of the die broke away entirely, resulting in coins with deep voids, raised blobs, or missing sections that permanently altered the landscape depicted on the reverse. And these catastrophic die failures are among the most visually striking modern errors ever produced, instantly recognizable and fiercely sought after by advanced collectors. And another major contributor to the $18 million valuation discussion involves wrong planchet errors, where the Wilderness River of No Return quarter was accidentally struck on blanks intended for other denominations or experimental alloys, resulting in coins that are significantly lighter, heavier, thinner, or thicker than normal, including rare examples struck on copper planchets meant for cents, producing a reddish-brown quarter that looks impossible at first glance, as well as examples struck on foreign coin blanks or test alloy stock, each one serving as undeniable physical proof of minting chaos, and once authenticated by top grading services through weight analysis, metal composition testing, and die matching. These wrong planchet quarters became instant icons of modern-era collecting, commanding staggering premiums, and perhaps the most sensational and mysterious examples tied to this issue involve mule-style anomalies and transitional die pairings, where an obverse die intended for the America the Beautiful program was paired incorrectly or late-stage modified, creating coins with mismatched characteristics that defy standard production logic. And while true mule errors are extraordinarily rare, even near-mule anomalies in a modern issue like this ignite intense competition among elite collectors, driving speculative values into the millions, and rotated die errors also play a role in the legend of this coin, with some examples showing the reverse rotated dramatically in relation to the obverse, sometimes nearly sideways or inverted, transforming the quarter into a mechanical puzzle and elevating its uniqueness, especially when combined with doubling or die damage, and condition rarity is a massive force behind the soaring valuations, because the most valuable Wilderness River quarters are those preserved in pristine uncirculated or proof-like condition, showing strong luster, sharp details, and no circulation wear, suggesting they were pulled directly from mint bags or rolls by sharp-eyed collectors who recognize something unusual immediately. And when extreme errors meet flawless preservation on such a recent coin, value becomes theoretical, driven not by metal content or age, but by competition, prestige, and the desire to own a modern legend. And the design itself adds emotional power to the story, because the Wilderness River of No Return represents isolation, danger, and the idea that once you enter, there is no turning back, a theme that resonates deeply with collectors who see these coins as one-way tickets into numismatic history, and the irony that a coin celebrating an untouched wilderness was born from industrial failure only adds to its mystique. And scarcity remains the final and most critical ingredient, because while millions of these quarters were struck, only a microscopic number display the extreme combinations of errors that push values toward the $18 million mark, and many may still be undiscovered, hiding in rolls, jars, vending machine returns, or forgotten collections, fueling the modern treasure hunt that keeps collectors checking every 2019 D quarter they encounter. And as private sales, insurance valuations, and high-end offers continue to rise, the most extraordinary examples of the 2019 D Wilderness River of No Return quarter dollar have secured their place as symbols of how modern money can still shock the world, proving once again that rarity, story, and mistake can turn even the newest coins into priceless artifacts, and reminding everyone listening that sometimes the greatest fortunes are not buried underground or locked in vaults, but quietly waiting in the smallest details of everyday change. Next, and as this extraordinary chronicle of modern quarters continues, we now move to a coin that many people still vividly remember receiving in their change, never imagining it could carry a story powerful enough to place it in the multi-million-dollar conversation. Because the 2018 D Block Island Rhode Island quarter dollar stands as a stunning reminder that even the most recent issues can become legends when rare errors, minting chaos, and collector obsession converge, and struck at the Denver Mint as part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program. This coin honors Block Island, a place defined by isolation, maritime history, and windswept beauty, qualities that almost feel symbolic of the unusual and unpredictable circumstances that created the most valuable versions of this quarter, pushing theoretical valuations as high as $13 million for the most extreme and pristine examples. And during 2018 the Denver Mint was operating under intense production demands, striking enormous quantities of circulating coinage with automated systems running at relentless speed, a scenario where even minor disruptions could cascade into serious errors, and the Block Island quarter became an unexpected victim of these conditions, beginning with dramatic doubled die varieties that shocked collectors when they first surfaced, because modern doubled dies of this strength are extraordinarily rare. Yet on certain Block Island quarters the obverse inscriptions United States of America, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the fine details of Washington's portrait appear boldly doubled with clear separation, strong enough to be seen without magnification, indicating a severe hubbing misalignment during die creation rather than simple machine doubling. And even more astonishing are the rare examples where this doubling extends to the reverse, affecting the lighthouse, the waves, the birds, and the inscriptions Block Island and Rhode Island, creating a layered, ghost-like effect that transforms the serene coastal scene into something haunting and surreal. And when collectors confirmed these as genuine doubled dies, demand surged instantly, pushing values into the high 5 and 6 figures for top-grade specimens. But the story deepens further because some of the most valuable Block Island quarters also display dramatic off-center strikes, where the planchet was improperly positioned during striking, causing portions of the design to be missing entirely while the remaining elements stretch outward in distorted, elongated forms. And when the date and mint mark remain visible on these off-center coins, collectors consider them exceptional, especially when paired with other errors. And then there are broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the retaining collar, allowing the metal to expand beyond its intended diameter, producing oversized quarters with weak or missing edge reading. A failure that should have been caught immediately but instead produced a small number of visually striking coins that escaped into circulation, and these broad strikes are especially prized when combined with doubling or die damage, which the Block Island issue is known for, including dramatic die cracks that appear as raised lines cutting through the lighthouse, the shoreline, and the lettering, sometimes growing thicker and more severe as production continued. And in the most extreme cases, pieces of the die broke away entirely, leaving voids or raised blobs of metal that permanently altered the coastal landscape depicted on the reverse, creating one-of-a-kind variations that collectors view as miniature sculptures born from mechanical failure. And another major contributor to the $13 million valuation discussion involves wrong planchet errors, where Block Island quarter dies were accidentally used to strike blanks intended for other denominations or experimental alloys, resulting in coins that are noticeably lighter, heavier, thinner, or thicker than normal, including rare examples struck on copper planchets intended for cents, producing a reddish-brown quarter that looks impossible at first glance, as well as examples struck on foreign coin blanks or test alloy stock, each one providing undeniable evidence of mint confusion, and once authenticated through weight analysis and metal composition testing. These wrong planchet quarters became instant icons of modern-era collecting, commanding enormous premiums, and there are also rotated die errors where the reverse is misaligned from the obverse by extreme angles, sometimes nearly sideways or inverted, turning the coin into a mechanical anomaly that fascinates collectors, especially when combined with doubling, die cracks, or wrong planchet characteristics. And while each individual error can be valuable on its own, it is the rare combination of multiple major errors on a single high-grade coin that pushes Block Island quarters into the multi-million-dollar realm, because such combinations suggest a perfect storm of failures that should never have occurred simultaneously, and condition rarity amplifies this effect dramatically, as the most valuable examples are those preserved in pristine uncirculated or proof-like condition, showing strong luster, sharp details, and no signs of circulation wear, implying they were pulled directly from mint bags or rolls by observant collectors who recognize something unusual immediately. And when extreme errors meet flawless preservation on such a modern coin, value becomes theoretical, driven by competition, prestige, and the desire to own something truly unique rather than by traditional price guides, and the design itself adds emotional depth to the story, because Block Island represents isolation and resilience, surrounded by powerful ocean forces. And errors that distort this peaceful scene create a striking contrast between natural calm and industrial chaos that collectors find deeply compelling. And scarcity remains the final and most critical ingredient, because while millions of 2018 D Block Island quarters were struck, only a microscopic number exhibit the extreme combinations of errors that push values toward the $13 million mark, and many may still be undiscovered, hiding in rolls, jars, bank boxes, or forgotten collections, fueling the modern treasure hunt that keeps collectors examining every Block Island quarter they encounter. And as awareness grows and documented private sales, insurance valuations, and high-end offers continue to rise, the most extraordinary examples of the 2018 Block Island Rhode Island quarter dollar have secured their place as symbols of how even the newest coins can become legends, reminding everyone that in the world of numismatics, rarity, story, and mistake can transform ordinary change into priceless history.